Happy Hanukkah. Rabbi Finman literally started a few seconds ago.
Is repurposed, recycled, reused. So as you can see, that this menorah is actually made out of 3 trees by David Brown, the artist, and it was wired by Schwartz Tech, if anybody needs wiring, because that's how it's supposed to be done. And it's as loud as it goes. There we go. Okay. So, with no further ado, we're going to light this menorah. I'm going to say the brachas on the menorah on the inside and have the menorah set up, but we'll ask David Nefesh if he could lead us in the singing of Ma'os Tzur. Is David here? Is David here? Oh, there we go.
They got a big gate over there, we're going to spin around. Please, everybody, help along as you're able.
Ma'os Tzur
Shuasi Mizabeyak Tika Filasi Beyak 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 Osman more Mashir more Nukas Beyak Shir Nigmor Nukas Hamiz Beyak. Okay, we got news here maybe? Guess, to a life is my name. Say nice Nashanim Meshmona Rani Meshmona
Thank you so much. Before I introduce to the David Coulter, Oakland County Chief Executive, I want to people know that in the crowd are the current mayor-elect of Ferndale, Indiana, Councilwoman Keeks May, State Senator Jeremy Moss, the head of the Superintendent of Ferndale Schools, Dana Brazzi, and remind us, Dan Martin is here. Current Mayor Dan Martin. Yes, thank you so much for coming. And
Dan Martin, what about Rowan? Where's he at? I think he's good.
Okay. Before we introduce the
Little louder.
Before we introduce the mayor of the county executive, what's on people's minds today are the events that happened yesterday. And it's by no accident we're gathered here today. And thank God that yesterday was not worse than it was.
Amen.
And thank God, but unfortunately, people are becoming more vigilant, but our hearts and minds are still focused on Pittsburgh, on Poway, where people weren't so vigilant. The light of the candles now is this day is called Zeus Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah. We see 8 candles, but we shouldn't be discouraged and think, well, tomorrow Hanukkah is over and we won't be lighting another candle, because in essence, we will be. Because the 9th candle is a much higher candle than the 8th candle because it's not even lit, as is the 10th and the 11th. Because just as the light of the menorah spreads out and illuminates the darkness, so too the message of Hanukkah spreads out and illuminates the darkness.
The Torah, amen.
And that a terrorist can only be a terrorist if people feel terrorized. And this menorah, in this public place, in public demonstration, that it says that the menorah has to be lit in such a way that it can be seen from the street, either at a door or a window in a public place such as this, so that it affects the very outside of the darkness.
Amen. All
And
the
that
nations.
the entire darkness is pushed away by the illumination from us. And what is that illumination that we're doing on day 9, day 10, day 11, and etc.? Are acts of goodness and kindness, because goodness and kindness is what is going to push away terrorism and tyranny. And we can take a look, we can look to ourselves and look in ourselves. Instead of saying, woe is me and what can I do? There's a standard saying in the Talmud that a person wants to save the world, they should start by saving themselves. And then, when they improve and illuminate themselves, they illuminate their neighborhood, their city, their county, their state, the country, the world. And then ultimately will merit to have a world which is filled with peace and tranquility, where swords will be hammered into plowshares, and no one will know war anymore, and we should be merited to it speedily. Amen. And I'd like to call upon Oakland County Executive and my good friend, David Coulter.
Thank you very much, Rabbi, and happy Hanukkah, everyone.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Happy
It's
Hanukkah.
great to see you all on this 8th and concluding day of Hanukkah. And as the Rabbi said, this is a profound and sorrowful day, given the tragedy in New York yesterday. Made more so, in my opinion, by the fact that the attacker used a knife instead of a gun, which demonstrates, I think, to most psychologists, an even greater anger and evil, frankly. And we know that this evil exists in our world, but we also know that when we come together in acts like this and let our light shine like we do in this celebration of light, that we can overcome the darkness that is the fear and the anger and the prejudice of those who would do us harm. And in most religious traditions, there is this notion of light and dark. And when you think about it, Light and dark are not opposites of each other. Dark is nothing, nothing. Light is real, light is energy, light is what we are. And so when we shine our light, we eliminate the nothing. And so when we look at people who, like the guy in New York who perpetrated the terrible violence there, he represents on sort of an almost metaphysical sense the nothingness that is our separation from the light. But when we come together in our light and shine our light on those situations and on those people and in our world, we can create a better world. And that's why we're here this evening, and that's why I'm so proud to be here. Oakland County is the home of the largest Jewish community in the state of Michigan. It is my honor to represent those of the Jewish faith and all faiths, and no faiths, frankly, that exist in our county, because I know that at our core we all share an inner light that when we shine our love on each other and on our communities, we will make this a greater county and a greater state and a greater world. So it is my privilege and honor to be with you, and thank you all so much, and again, Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
I'm just here to say Happy Hanukkah. Am I on?
Sort of.
Yeah, hold it as close as possible because it's not.
What's wrong with this picture?
What's wrong with this mic?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not shy. Well, Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah!
That was a beautiful speech. I think we were all with you with that and a total feeling of unity. And through unity, we can bust through just about anything. That's my friend Hani. She's very happy on Hanukkah, and go, Hani.
Hani!
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 I want to just say that tonight we have a few things going on inside, and please come in, make yourselves feel at home at Jewish Ferndale. You'll notice we'll have a new calendar posted about. You can take a picture of it, and it's just more sustainable that way. We represent a sustainable living and lifestyle. We teach that here. It's very important. Please enjoy our snacks of latkes and applesauce and whatnot and gelt. But remember to go into the art studio, which is behind our main building. Go out the exit. We have a scribe here tonight who is going to do a great event of showing how the letters are actually made with a handmade pen and quill to create Torah, which is our life. The Torah is the tree of life, from where we get all of our laws and way of life from. And he will be showing us how a Torah is created by individual letters. And just like anything good is made up of many small parts, as we are here tonight, we should all make up one great part to bring peace and unity to all people, like was said before. Also, I want to share that if you go downstairs, we have a library, which we're introducing tonight, which is a memorial to my parents who were educators their entire careers. So in their memory, we have a lending library and museum starting tonight. Take a look, and you can find out more about that. One more thing, David Nefesh, who sang so beautifully tonight, is going to have a beautiful performance of Jewish songs. He is a great performer and a great guy. So that's it. Come inside and enjoy.
Happy Hanukkah.
And to all
Hey.
a good night.
I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for coming. I will be lighting my menorah inside now, and then let the festivities begin. So welcome you all here.
Okay, so thanks for tuning in. Happy Hanukkah. Great crowd of people here. I guess the rabbi had his own live stream going to his channel. I used to record these for him before live streaming and then give describe with the videos and then post it later. But now then I started live streaming. Now the rabbi just live streams himself. In fact, the rabbi's on the internet basically a few nights a week. Alan,
How are you doing?
Thank God.
Purim Sameach.
was live streaming the event. I went to Royal Oak also. It was huge. Like I wasn't expecting it. I guess because Rabbi Shem Tov's granddaughter, their new Chabad in Royal Oak, they had all of Fifth Avenue closed down. They had a huge stage.
Where's Royal Oak? Where's it located?
I haven't been there.
Oh, you say I thought you were there.
I went to their Hanukkah event. They had a huge Hanukkah.
Likewise.
Yeah, I was just amazed by how big the Hanukkah event was. I guess Rabbi Shem Tov's, helped him out. So, but it was huge. Okay, so great event here. Got our food, the concert. We're going back and we'll see we're going back and see the Sofer. I actually studied with this man's brother, the Sofer here. So as said, like I've studied the main text that at least basic Chabad rabbis study. Obviously, like seasoned Chabad rabbis spend his whole life studying this stuff. But just the basic text that Chabad rabbi starts off with studying to become a rabbi. I've studied those, and I actually studied together with the Sofer, here's brother, Rabbi Kagan, who his father, God forbid, died in a car crash, but he was head of Chabad of Michigan, so he used to drive all over to the various places. And one of his sons in New York, I studied with Chabad studies for like a few years. He used to come to the Sklana Rebbe and Shomer Shabbos. So when I was a Gabbai at Shomer Shabbos, the Chabadsters used to come trying to preach Tanya and Chabad's Chassiduses to like the other Chassidim there, and it didn't take so well. Like so, at the end of the day, I studied with him like tens of times. I was at his wedding, but so his brother's a Sofer, so he'll be doing a demonstration here if anyone's curious about like our holy texts. You want to give tours of the synagogue downtown. I want to talk about Moses and our scrolls, and we got like mezuzahs and tefillin, so that's interesting, a regular activity. And if you're on the inside circle of Jews, that might be your livelihood. Okay, so also ironically, our Rebbetzin maiden name is Rothschild, Rabbi Finman's wife. Rabbi. Okay.
Sleepy time. I hope it's
Rabbi Kagan, pretty big crowd. Okay, so pretty packed. The Royal Oak, because it was out on the main area and in a commercial district, harnessed a pretty big crowd. Which like I mentioned, Detroit, when we make those events, that being downtown in a commercial area with people walking by, you could attract people off the street. So here's not it's down the block from a commercial place, but it's at the end of the commercial strip. So there's not too much foot traffic. So the Royal Oak event, because we had it right outside, and there was a lot of foot traffic. We had a few hundred people, and it was like a whole produced event where we closed down a whole popular street in Royal Oak. Like thank to Mr. Grossman, who lit the candles, who probably made a donation of many thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars to. That had to cost at least $10,000. I don't know. I wasn't involved in that directly, but certainly a huge endeavor. So that attracted a huge crowd. Rabbi Finman, this is probably the biggest crowd he's had yet. His concerts, Hanukkah, everything keeps on getting better. Rabbi Finman actually had the leader of the ADL for an event here. I would have live streamed it. I don't think Rabbi Finman did. It was a small event, small conversation, but she came here and they had a discussion about the rise of anti-Semitism. I think there was another. I prayed with this guy hundreds of times. This guy's actually a Bubover here. He became Chabad since he was here in Detroit, but he's by Yichus a Bubover. Jungwirth.
Don't break this camera.
Good man. This guy's Hasidic. So, Chabad is a different type of Hasidic. This guy's a Bubover Hasid. So, like this, we could go straight into chanting Naguna. So, if you're really Hasidic, you chant. saying like you could be a Jew, saying this is your group strategy. But I mean, if you're a Hasidic, there's a whole approach and take to Judaism. Part of it is chanting. So, because he's a Bubaver, he knows hundreds of the same songs, and like Chabad is a sect where they basically, because all Jews largely say the same prayers. People who know the prayer book. Let me see if I could get reception in the basement. Check out the rabbi's new library. So, just rather than rambling. Happy Hanukkah. Okay. Okay.
Ooh, excuse me. Got it?
Yeah. Trying. Okay, we sing our famous song. No, da ya da da dum da 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 dum da da dum da 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 dum da da Shamish Bohem, Shamish Bohem, Shamish Bohem. Haydos la Hallel, haydos la Hallel, haydos la Hallel, haydos la Hallel, Simcha Hagadol, oh Yidaka, Yoni Vasako, Nishua Sako, ya, Om Sako, Yoni Vasako, Yeshua Sako. Yeshua said, Happy Hanukkah, everybody. You got to hear the classic generations old Chabad tune to the famous poem Haneiros that is almost always included in the liturgy of Hanukkah. That was what I was mentioned before I walked over of my friend from Doooovid. Is most Hasidic groups have their own tunes throughout the whole year, all of the liturgy, all the various holidays. That there's certain like generic Jewish tunes that become popular among all Jews, but your classical different Hasidic sects developed largely their own tunes for the whole liturgical year. So that man, although he's a Chabadster, he grew up a Doooovid, so he knows the liturgical Doooovid way of doing this. So I mean, the Chabad's pretty cool. I generally prefer the Doooovid liturgy to the Chabad. The Chabad's very nice and pleasant, so it was nice to have latkes. Okay, yeah, here's the basement. Okay, so the rabbi supposedly has got a new. See, the rabbi's new library, cooking, gardening, Torah, Los. So I have one of the best Judaica collections in Michigan, thank God, Baruch Hashem. But I mean, this rabbi is synagogue, and he's been a rabbi his whole life. Taught Talmud, taught in school. So he might have I don't know if the rabbi's got a bigger Judaica collection, but he's got a pretty nice one, and hopefully he'll get a lot of use, and it'll probably grow. So if it's successful, the rabbi probably get. Does he have Kabbalah here? So he's got Chabad philosophy. So if you're literature about the rabbi, about the Rebbe, letters directly from the Rebbe, or direct stories from the Rebbe. Some of books generally describing the Chabad philosophy. Here was I talking about like the basic literature to become a Chabad rabbi. Would come from the Sikhos, and from all the rabbis wrote like a whole shelf of books, so like multiple shelves. So the 7 generations of Chabad rabbis, and they all wrote shelves of books. And generally in Chabad, the goal is to read every writing twice, and some of them like every year. So there's certain main corpus of what it takes to become a rabbi, and I went through that, thank God, not to become a rabbi, just because I wanted to know. So the rabbi has all of it here, so hopefully this will get a lot of use in saying, Jews are intellectual people, but it's saying still the minority of Jews will never make it to this library. They'll never have the time to dedicate to an in-depth study of Chabad Hasidus. But if someone does, it's definitely worth their endeavor to take the study of Chabad Hasidus seriously. And to that, you have to start to actually study some of the most important teachings of the Rebbe. And it's not like systematic like a textbook. You basically have to just study lectures of the rabbis of the various generations. Some people have written textbooks, but if you're a follower from the movement, the preferable way to gain the knowledge is just to study direct texts from the Rebbe, which are basically transcribed speeches. Okay, so let's look at the scribe. I think these events have really expanded. Anyone who's been following my YouTube for years has definitely.
I love that.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming. Excellent. Okay, so we got our state senator here. He's lived here in the past. He was at Southfield, also supports this. So, this guy knows a little bit already, but. So, you could have the outline of the letter written by a trained scribe and then just fill them in. A lot of times, like, it's a mitzvah to write your own Sefer Torah, but if you just write in like part of a letter, it could be considered as a fulfillment, and that way the scribe will usually have written out the outer tracing the letter, and then people will just fill it in. And to write the outer letters, it takes a reasonable amount of training, artistic ability for this, and because it's a ritual performance, it has a prescribed method. God forbid it's usually on cow skin, which has become a big dilemma with Doooovid and my Hindu leanings, which is extremely against the killing of the cow. But the prescribed way, is with a feather and a very specific type of ink, and then a certain type of leathers that the parchment will be written on. And this is a trained process. So if you're in the internal rabbinic school, like some people will go into kosher supervision, some people go into education, some people will be like various forms of rabbis. But being a scribe is an important ritual component to the Jewish religion, and you can't have a Jewish community without a scribe, and a bigger Jewish community have multiple scribes. And 'cause every kid at their bar mitzvah used to fill in, every Jewish house needs a mezuzah, every synagogue needs a Torah scroll. So like a new Chabad rabbi need not need a scribe. Like he could go order from New York or get things shipped from New York. But as a community expands, people become scribes, and anyone in an internal Orthodox community or spent time in yeshiva, presumably some of their more artistically inclined people, may went down the path of becoming a scribe. And in some, it's like the accomplishment of a lifetime. Writing your own Sefer Torah is really the pinnacle of accomplishment for a adult male Orthodox person. Like learning Shas, the Sima Shas, people finishing Shas, 7 years of studying the Talmud every night, saying accomplishment of a lifetime. And many adult Orthodox males will do that for decades and go through Shas multiple times. More people accomplish learning Shas than writing their own Sefer Torah. So to actually become a trained scribe is beyond the ability of your average Orthodox Jew. But you can have the Sefer Torah paid for it, written on your behalf, or you could take part in it, where say you have the outer letters written. I studied with this man's brother. It's ironic, the economics of supply and demand. So in Israel, there's a huge glut of trained Sofer, so you can get stuff very cheap. The further you go out, Sofers might cost a huge amount, like $100 an hour, where in Israel you could get a Sofer for like $4 an hour, just because among the Haredi communities, it's something that a lot of Haredi Jews, say like, it's an important part knowing, like every one of us puts on tefillin, has mezuzahs, and we go to synagogue and read from the Sefer Torah all the time, that a substantial, I'm live streaming, I take it with your phone.
Okay, let me go get my phone.
Okay, Deshaun wants a picture with our former mayor. God bless, there's a heated election. Andy Meisner, who is an Orthodox Jew who goes to the Woodward Avenue Shul, also been on my YouTube page many times. I've shaken hands with Andy Meisner. I'm not political, I don't vote. But Andy Meisner, I've shaken hands with him countless times. Good man, is running for Oakland County Commission, L. Brooks Patterson, against this man who was after L. Brooks Patterson passed away, this man was appointed to take over his place till the upcoming election. So that'll be an interesting election from the Jewish community. Dave Coulter is extremely popular for the Jewish community, although Andy Meisner is a member of the Jewish community, and so it'll be interesting. But either way, I've supported transit in the past for years. Anyone who follows my YouTube channel, like the True Meetings, the Transit Writers United, RTA, these various things that failed. We had a public election, public ballot initiative. Anyone who hasn't followed Detroit, what I did in my channel, but there's a public ballot initiative about having a connected transport system between Detroit and Oakland County and the suburbs. And generally, the former city commissioner for decades, and he was city commissioner till like into his 80s, was not a big fan of connecting Oakland County with Wayne County, where Detroit is, and pushed back on those measures. So currently, both candidates, the Jewish candidate Andy Meisner, who's actually Orthodox and very comes to these synagogues, Chabad events. His mother's mayor of the Oak Park, where most of the Orthodox Jews live, and Dave Coulter, who's a popular mayor of Ferndale, served on the commission board. So it'll be an interesting election. And say it's easy to be apolitical. So I've always been apolitical. I don't vote, and it leaves me more free and neutral to not have to be weighed down by voting. And I mean, people have heard my streams. I don't have to ramble about that, but just to be neutral and not involved in politics is nice, especially like as a religious-minded person. So see if Deshaun comes back. I was going to go in and film the concert that should be starting any minute. And what he was talking sustainability, because we're Ferndale, a very progressive place. Like sustainability. We got an urban garden here. We grow our own vegetables. We like compost, and we do all the modern things that people are doing in Metro Detroit to try to be more ecologically sustainable. So Rabbi Finman was a Buddhist for like over 10 years. So, Rabbi Shem Tov, I thought, is from a famous rabbinic family. His cousin's the rabbi of the synagogue where Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, who controls the White House kosher and events. Rabbi Finman was just a Jew who was interested in spirituality, went on to become a rabbi. But he had been a Buddhist for many years, so his approach shows that, and it's fitting to this neighborhood because it's a very progressive neighborhood, and a lot of the times the Eastern teachings are easier to make compatible with progressivism. So hopefully the concert will be starting soon. So Dave Nefesh, I think he's been here in the past. In fact, he's on the very first Hanukkah. Anyone who's been following my YouTube channel for a long time, the very first Rabbi Finman Hanukkah at Wayne State on my YouTube page had this musician, and it was should be good. Pretty good crowd. Diversity of activities. So, in a lot of ways, Hanukkah is the biggest event in the calendar for Chabad. Like in the Jewish tradition in general, it's a minor holiday, but Chabad in terms of festivities, the greater Jewish community, organizational, Hanukkah is probably the biggest production. What? Were you ready? Yeah, live. I was just rambling, so it wasn't dead time. You want to say something?
It's too early now, but
I got 7 people waiting for you. Say 7 people waiting to hear you play the guitar. Hopefully, once you start, more people. These are people that are just listening to me ramble, waiting for you. Okay, so okay, so here we go. Who's in there? Izzy, my good friend Izzy. This guy will dance. I mean, he's really Hasidic. He's not Chabad Hasidic. He's said he's Polish. So, sorry, they're the wrong guy. But Chabad is Hasidic, but they're like Russian, which is a little less emotional than the Polish Hasidim. So, there'll still be dancing and, but the Polish styles of a different type. That's my buddy who's really a Polisher, Bubba. So it's a different. It's still within the larger Jewish group strategy, Hasidic strategy, but there's variations within the various forms of the group strategies. So, generally when it comes to singing and chanting, Um, at an event promotion and streaming, and even from a production level of like rabbinics, any type of event or religious, the idea of dead time, like as little dead time as possible. But it's tough, saying like event organizers, and a lot of times people, I think they're here more for the social, to just talk with each other in the environment than necessarily what the programs offer.
Now is a good time to talk because our dear friend David Nefesh, who's also known as Dr. David Middleman, who's a local psychologist in the area here, is a very talented singer-songwriter. We're going to be starting momentarily, and if anybody would like the words to a very unusual song that no one here has ever heard of. It's called, I think, I Have a Little Hippopotamus? No, I Have a Little No. There you go. In a few minutes, I have a sheet.
Thank you. Well, how wonderful that we have such a nice crowd tonight. Thanks for coming out. Grab a latte and get comfortable.
Okay, it looks like this might be more for kids, so I think I'm just going to end the stream. We'll see if he starts. We'll see how it goes, but happy Hanukkah. So if it's... Oki. Thanks for tuning in, Oki. Happy Hanukkah.
Relocating the source that reflects off your face, and it warms me and opens an ancient well. Come inside, let us go for the ride. Is it a he, is it a she, is it anybody? I don't care, but I know I want you to go with me here, with me there, and we'll dance in the air. Come inside, let us go for the ride. With sickles in hand, hearts on our sleeve, we'll carve a path that is ours, leaving our footprints as traces behind for others, leaving the sign. So let's spend the time, la 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 la. a very special little kids edition of the evening. We're going to sing a song or two with the children, so parents can get involved with your little ones. We're going to do the dreidel song, the classic top 10 dreidel song. A big hit on AM and CKLW in the 60s, the dreidel song. Yeah. So we do have some lyric sheets, I think, to kind of hand them out. There's just one in the room? Well, which of the children know the dreidel song? Raise your hand. You do? So you're going to help me sing along? Yeah? Okay, the grown-ups can help sing along too. Shouldn't the grown-ups sing too? Shouldn't the grown-ups help? How many kids think the grown-ups should help sing with us? That's right. Okay, so the first verse. I have a little dreidel. I made it out of here. When it's dry and ready. Oh, dreidel. Sorry, a little interlude. Stand right here. One more time. I have a little dreidel. I made it out of here. When it's dry and ready. Oh, dreidel, I shall play. Oh, dreidel. I made it out of here. When it's dry and ready. That dreidel, I shall play. Next verse. It has a lovely body with legs so short and thin, and when it gets all tired, it drops and I will win. Everybody! Oh, dreidel, I made it out, and when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I will play. My dreidel is so playful. It loves to dance and spin. A happy game of dreidel. Come play now, let's begin. Oh, dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. I made it out. When it's dry and ready. Oh, dreidel, I will. One more time. Oh, dreidel, dreidel, dreidel. I made it out. When it's dry and ready. Thanks to Micah for her good singing. Give her a hand. Hey. Vivons sof 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 Hanukkah Uchatov Vivons sof sof sof
Happy Hanukkah. Excellent.
Niskado Hayasham Niskado Hayasham Aksiyahula Sivivos Chanukah Vuchato Chanukah Vuchato Sivivos Another classic Hanukkah song. I'm going to be doing a few Hebrew things, as well as a few of my songs, in English as well. So the late Lubavitcher Rabbi Schneerson, rest his soul, said that the best way to fight hate is through adding more light into the world. So that's what we're all doing tonight on the heels of some of the terrible tragedies, hate crimes against some of the Jewish folks on the East Coast, in New York in particular. So thanks to all of you for coming to add to the creating positivity, and I'm happy to be here. So here's a song of peace.
Oh, pardon me. Let's see if he does some classical sing-along stuff. Kids kind of piled out, so maybe we'll do the classic Hanukkah sing-along stuff. Yoko Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Yoko Yisrael. Shalom Aleinu, V'yoko Yisrael, Amen. That man in the red there is actually an exceptional musician. I think he's on my YouTube page also. He used to perform the musical accompaniments for Rabbi Dorit's Interfaiths, and he's actually a member of like the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. But he lives in this area.
Comes in. Back, and I'm offering it up tonight just to say thanks to everybody for coming our way. Could have sailed an ocean, discovered other seas. Could have 10 handsome sailors begging on their knees. Could have found another country, helped a few more kids. Could have took you around his car, told it like it is. But instead you're here with me right now, and I'm not sure what to say. So thank you for coming my way. You could have painted pictures with your treasured brush in some sacred temple in New Zealand's lush. You could have had some babies with a magnet tail. Could have waited tables in cafes in your Kathmandu. But instead you're here with me right now, and I'm not sure what to say. So thank you for coming my way. Don't know what tomorrow will bring. I look into your eyes and it makes me want to sing. Singing makes you wanna hold me. Go ahead and hold. If it's not too much, if it's not too much, I have no words for how I feel. Is this real? Is it real? Is it real? Because you're here with me right now, and I'm not sure what to say. So thank you for coming my way. Thank you for coming my way. Thank you for coming my way. Happy Hanukkah to everyone. Thank you.
That guy with the Jew fro is gonna be like Babs when he's older.
Sometimes you may wanna get maybe a moment when you're competent. You can always hitch your ride with me. We can sing a song and our harmony and fly. Thank you.
I've been promoting these Chabad events really since we started expanding here in Detroit. I remember I went to the Friendship Circle. It was me and like just the Chabad Shlichim. A lot of them before they expanded out into the new territory. And a lot of these events I've been live streaming when it was really just me, the given rabbi in their area, and a handful of people. So, it's a reward of karma, I guess, to see it come to fruition. And, these rabbis have centers and congregations and people showing up for them. Yeah, so your average Jew doesn't understand the inner workings of Chabad. They just want a family Jewish event to go to take their family to. So the internal competition among group strategies of Chabad offering for the public these Jewish events is beyond your average Jew who just simply wants to give the tradition to their family or have a communal event to go to.
chipper in the morning, sing your song for me. I'm tired of sleeping in your summer. I've got too much to give. I'm gonna be the guy who's gonna get old. My heart's wide open, there's a lot to live for. You got the chippers, they stick right to your big ribbon. You got the chipper in the morning, singing your songs for me. You got the chipper, they stick right to the big ribbon. You got the chipper in the morning, singing your songs for me. You got the chipper in the morning, singing your songs for me. Got the chipper in the morning, singing your songs for me. Chipper.
We all nifluos. We all churros, yellow nifluos, Sisala Husseinu, Bayamima and Hanacha. Anisim, we all a we all churros, yellow nifluos, Sisala Husseinu, Bayamima and Hanacha. Anisim, we all a we all churros, we all churros. Jesus, the love of Satan, by your memory, Hanacha. Anisim, we all a program, we all a churros, we all a churros. Jesus, the love of Satan, by your memory, Hanacha. We all a program, we all a churros, we all a promotion. Jesus, the love of Satan. We all a pork, we all a churros, we all a churros. The Moshe, Sisala say, no by a million Hanacha. Nisim, we all a pork, we all a churros, we all a churros. Sisala say, no by a million Hanacha. Nisim, we all a pork, we all a churros, we all a churros. By a memory, Hanacha. We all a broken, we all a churros, we all a churros. Jesus, the love of Satan, by a memory, Hanacha. We all a broken, we all a churros, we all a churros. Okay, big events. I only got like 10-15 minutes of battery left.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming out. What a sweet evening, but linger, because there's probably more latkes, right? That's my fee for this evening, 3 latkes. That was my desired fee. Maybe we'll do one more song to say goodnight. A song of the seasons and a song of changing seasons. A song made famous by probably Peter, Paul, and Mary and the Birds. I think it was written by Pete Seeger, but the words actually come from Jewish liturgy. Koheles. How do you translate Koheles? Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. So I'm going to say goodnight with this one and stick around and enjoy the rest of the evening. The Rabbi Kagan is doing some really cool work teaching people about his scribe work and what goes into making the Torah. So,
Okay, happy Hanukkah, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My battery's dying out also, so I'm going to end the stream. So happy Hanukkah, great times. Hope to probably like 9 o'clock. I don't know what time it is, maybe a little earlier. I'll be on the Weekend Review Church eventually. A lot of interesting things to talk about, specifically new thoughts on like competitive group strategy. And so see you soon.